Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy and pleased and honored that you would take the time out of your busy day to come and listen to Love and Money. Every time I say that word, I think of love and marriage, love and marriage, but from stress to success. My name is Veronica Dangerfield, and I am the senior financial educator here at Patelco Credit Union. I've been working with credit unions since 2000, so going on 24 years. And before I had the opportunity to work in finance, I was a stand-up comedian. And I was married to a San Francisco cop for 20 years. Yeah, his name was Officer Dangerfield. But, eventually we got a divorce. Yes, because he arrested my development. Now you know why I had to keep my day job. I spent my entire comedy career, though, complaining about being married and also complaining about my lack of domestic skills. But there's great things that happen because I cannot cook and nobody would sit at the table until I actually sat down to eat my own food. All three of my children are excellent cooks. All I have to do is say, I'm cooking Thanksgiving and everybody's running to the kitchen. Hopefully there'll be a little bit of comedy in this because, it's a heavy, heavy lift. Tonight's format is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to come on and as I welcome you, I'm going to tell you about the Patelco Book Club. And then we are going to have Erick on, and Erick is recorded. So you'll be able to hear the recorded version, and then we can get back at the end. But I love you guys. I love that you're firing up the chat. Keep that going, and let's have an amazing night of learning, okay? So I wanted to introduce to you this book. It's called Ramit Sethi's Money for Couples. It's mighty, mighty ambitious. It says, no more stress and no more fights, just a 10-step plan to create your rich life. And I found the book really amazing because you know what he says, you guys? He says that money is a skill and anyone can learn a skill. And once you understand how to use your skills, regardless of what you're doing, you're going to be great. He says, no more stress, no more fights, just a plan. I found the book extremely ambitious. Like I said, he says that you're going to have a conversation about money that is lighthearted. So he has taboo words, so you can't say debit or credit or spending too much. And he says your rich life is when you consciously make value-based decisions that are mutually agreed upon. Now, the Achilles heel, the kryptonite of all financial relationships is when one person is controlling the money. When it's not mutually, if two people aren't together making decisions, he says that you're going to fall into the minutia of, you spend $3 here or you put $5 there. So they have to be mutually agreed upon. He says that both couples have to have skin in the game. And he said budgeting is a tactical solution to a psychological problem. I think that's a little bit much because, with women, it's not only the money, but it's also the power. If you have different types of income. And I remember when I first got married to Officer Dangerfield, that we affectionately call him OD, because we OD don't know. We were on a budget, and the budget hurt my feelings. I think I talked about this in the video. For 5 years, it was just so tight. There wasn't a whole lot of freedom. So yeah, so it was a little bit of a challenge. So he also talked about releasing the pressure valve. So during the week, when you're with your beloved, you don't wait till one moment to ask about money. You just, on a Sunday, you would say, how's your money week going, honey? And then you would smile just like that. How's your money week going, honey? And it releases the pressure so that when you do talk about money, it doesn't explode. He said that there's 4 types of money people: the avoider, who deflect and procrastinate; the optimizer, who is obsessed with numbers, aka Officer Dangerfield; the worrier, always negative about money; and then the dreamer. He says if you understand your money styles, then you're able to figure out how to work with each other better for your rich life. My favorite chapter in here was the money dials. So what he encouraged is dialing up what you really enjoy for your quality life, and then dialing down on the things that is costing you a lot of money. He says focus on the big areas of spending and then do it strategically. And he said the biggest opportunities for us financially is to cut back on housing and cars, eating out, and invisible expenses. So now, you guys, we're going to have the interview with Erick. Right after that, I'm going to come back on and answer your questions. So I hope you enjoy the presentation. Hello and welcome, Erick. We are thrilled to have you back on our webinars, because last year when you did the generational wealth, it was off the chart. Everybody loved it, and I have to tell you, it was my favorite interview.
Oh,
so
thank
I'm happy to have you here to discuss love and money, from stress to success. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. And however I was doing before I got on this call, I'm doing just a little bit better because, Veronica, I love being in your presence. You have an amazing energy to yourself, and we just always have a good time. So I'm
really have a
excited to
good
be
time.
here. Looking forward to it.
Thank you for your kind words. Can you give a brief introduction to our members again? I know they remember you, but you're a successful scholar, and you're a CPA, and you're a college instructor, and you are the father of the year every year, I am sure. And maybe the husband too.
Well, it said in the book I'm the husband of the year. But yes, you said most of it. Since the last time we spoke, I completed and earned my doctorate in ministry. And
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And so we can add Dr. Bell from time to time as it sees fit. But I still believe that my most important role on this earth is being a father to my 4 amazing children: High Princess Kasani, High Prince Makai, High Prince Lucas, High Prince Benjamin Stephen. And then my other very important role on this earth is being a husband to my lovely wife, Lauren. Hi, Queen. And we're here to talk about love and money.
Love and money. And I'm glad you have the perfect reverence for your family. I was married for 28 years, and I can tell you, when we had the first budget was so rigorous that my feelings were hurt for 5 entire years. We never had a successful, I don't think we ever had a successful money conversation because I think there was a underlying power dynamic that I could never breach. And I think that it was easier to just give up. Centrist says that the budget, 5%, 51% of couples discuss money, but 55% has difficulty having serious conversations. How do we overcome that?
Wow, I wish I knew the answer to that question. That's a statistic that is kind of troubling to me as well. One of the things that we always talk about is first of all, how do we relate to money? And why do we relate to money in that way? So kind of doing what's called your first money memory. And for many
Mm,
of us, it it's usually not a pleasant first money memory. Our first money memory may be our parents telling us no when we were asking for candy and saying we don't have the money. Our first money memory may be watching our parents fight over money. And so
mm,
because of that, I believe there's a stigma around talking about money. And so it's kind of one of those things that we want to put to the side and not talk about it. But you know this, Veronica, the reality is we deal with money every day. And
yes,
we have to make it a common conversation. And I'm not suggesting that I'm going to go out and talk to my colleagues about my money and my budget, but definitely that person that I'm sharing my life with. Oh, absolutely. We have to have this money conversation and really kind of move away from this money shame um,
yes.
that we have in our society.
So when should we have this conversation? Because I know that I read something by Experian that says that people who have the same credit scores are very compatible, probably because they have the same financial behaviors. So when I have a date, do I approach him by asking him what his credit score is?
Maybe not the first date. I don't know the exact time when you should start discussing money when you're dating. I haven't dated in a very long time. But I would say that if you're starting to get serious, you feel yourself, I'm starting to get serious with this other person, you want to have that money conversation, sooner rather than later. Because, and what I should probably describe what I mean by money conversation.
Mhm.
First, there has to be a foundation of trust.
Yes,
And, again, like I said, it's been a long time since I've been on a first date, but I think first dates are kind of fake. Like I'm trying to present the best of myself to you.
absolutely.
And so if someone would come out and say, "What's your credit score?" I might just be like, it's 800. Like I just, it's good. So probably not the first time, but when once you start to develop a foundation of trust, and this is a serious conversation, or serious relationship, you do want to have that money conversation, and that's discussing what are your individual and your shared financial goals, right? Kind of just starting there, discussing what assets do you have, and then
Mm,
also discussing what debts do you have. Credit score is an indicator, but I don't think that tells the whole story. You mentioned it. I'm a professor both at Las Positas College and at the Haas School of Business at Berkeley. And we give out grades, and that determines GPAs. But I will tell you, a GPA is not an indicator of someone's level of understanding of the
mm,
content.
right. So I was listening to Ramit Singh, and he said that a good time to bring up your finances is when you're planning a vacation together or when you are planning to move in. But but he also said that 50% of couples do not know how much debt each other has. So there's a little bit of shame around that. How would you address that with your beloved?
It comes back to, I'm just going to keep jumping back to that foundation of trust.
Mhm.
And, it's odd to me that people are willing to live together, but they're not willing to trust each other and talk about, like, this is where I stand, right, from a financial perspective. And so I think it's building that financial trust. I like the idea of planning a vacation. Um, the best time to have this conversation is when things are going well, right? When you're anticipating something, because let's be honest, these are tough conversations that you're
Uh,
going to have. And one person is going to have more debt than the other. And that person with the more debt is going to have a sense of shame or guilt, associated with that. And so, but if you have that level of trust, right, it's an easier conversation to have. And when you approach it from a very objective perspective, it's not about casting dispersions on the other person,
yes.
but it's getting us on the same page so that we understand, like, where do where do we stand and where do we want to go?
Yeah. So I hear you saying not be judgmental about it, be accepting about it, and maybe having a conversation on your shared values so that you can become a team. I don't think I ever, and I was married for a really long time, and we were able to accumulate a lot of stuff together. But what happened was with this, we had a house account, and then I had my money, and then he had his money, and that was the truce. How do you feel about when two couples come together? How should they work on their finances? Should they have it all together or should they do it separately?
I can tell you what works for me. What works for me and my queen is we have a joint account, and so we each contribute an agreed upon amount to that joint account, and that
Mm,
covers the joint expenses. And
mm,
then I have my account, and she has her account. Uh,
right.
and then there's some expenses, some common expenses, and I'm talking about utilities and groceries and the toiletries and all this stuff that we kind of sat down at one point and agreed you will pay for this and I will pay for that. Um, and then we have, an opportunity to spend our money how we want to spend.
Mm,
And Veronica, it's not fixed. There were times when we went through a period where she became the primary breadwinner. And when that happened, we readjusted. Okay, let's readjust who's responsible for what. And then there was a time period when I was the primary breadwinner. And we go,
mm,
okay, let's readjust who's responsible for what. So it's always a moving target.
right.
But when there's trust there, you can have that conversation.
What about when a couple comes together and one is the higher earner than the other and they're combining their finances together? How do
Mhm.
you do that in a way that's fair?
You know, I, well, one way I would say if one person is earning twice as much as the other, like fair, that one person should be paying twice the amount of rent. I mean, that just kind of seems like the fair way to go about it. But I think you can also think about that in terms of splitting up the bills, right? So say for example, um, one person makes twice as much as the other, so that person's going to pay for the utilities, which is $500, right, a month. And then the other person is going to pay for the groceries, which is $250 a month. So I'm not saying, every time you go to the grocery store, you say, hey, can we put this on two different credit cards? She, this person's going to pay 200 and this person's going to pay 100. No, I mean, but and it's not going to be an even split, right? Like I said, it's
Yeah.
always a moving target. You know, I saw when you wanted to talk about income disparity, I think it is important to call out that there is a wage gap in this
Yeah.
country.
There is.
And so I think, most recently, for every dollar that a man earns, a woman earns 84 cents. Um, and so I say that to say that, as men, we we're generally making more money just because of the society that we live in. And so when we find ourselves not being the primary breadwinner, it it can become a boost. It can become a not a boost to our ego. I'm saying that the wrong way. It can become a bruise to our ego. Uh,
Right,
and so, for the men out there, it's important to, you know, keep that in check. It is okay, right? Because we're partners, right? And so
right.
it is okay if the woman is earning more than you because of her skill set, because of her education, because of the job that she selected versus the job that you selected. Um, but we can still be equal partners, right? In how do we manage the household? And so, placing that ego and all that stuff to the side so that we can effectively manage our household in a way that works toward, again, like I said, the shared goals that the couple
Yes.
have together, and then the individual goals.
Yeah, I love that you said the shared goals, and also that, just knowing what equal means. Um, some expert talked about having it proportional, where everybody puts their income together, and then if somebody is making 33% and the other one is making 73%, then they divide the bills that way. But I was doing a webinar last week, and I was doing it on paying off bills. And I had a gentleman say, "How do I get my spouse um, together so that I don't have to work on this alone?" Um, do you have any suggestions around that? Because he was very upset about it.
Mm. I think it's important to assign responsibilities.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, not to kind of categorize people, but there are people who are more quantitative and there are people who are more qualitative. Uh,
Yes.
and and understanding your partner and how he or she communicates is important. And so for some people, like, that's just not their ministry. That's not their skill set, to sit down every month and want to go through the bills. And so you chose that person. And so clearly that person has some other qualities that are important, and nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect. And so, you can for, forgive that person, right? Forgive them for that, for not being perfect, just like they're forgiving you, right? Extending that grace, because I'm not perfect. Um, but some of these things that can be frustrating can also be automated. And so, the responsibility for paying the the rent or the mortgage every month, or the car note every month, or the utility bill every month, a lot of those can be automated. And so, and I know for utilities, like, I hear this a lot. Well, I can't automate my utilities because the amount fluctuates. Well, I will offer up two things. One, you could go to the utility provider and just set up an automatic payment. Whatever the bill is, pay it off. That's one way. Um, or you can estimate, right? This is what I do. I have
Yeah.
an estimate of how much my bill is going to be every month. And so I just send that amount of money every month. And Veronica, if I could be honest, I don't open the mail every month. I open the mail, and some months it says I've got like a $50 credit because I've just been overpaying. And then some months I get a letter saying, "We're tired of asking you for this. You owe us an extra $50." And I go, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll send that. But here's the benefit of automating your payments. I think we have couples, like, we're couples, and because we enjoy spending time with that person.
Yes.
So I want to spend time with you. I don't want to spend time on you know, my app or my computer trying to pay bills. Let the computer take care of that.
Yeah.
Go hold your partner's hand. Give your partner a hug. sit on the couch and with a bowl of ice cream and watch Netflix or something. Like,
So can you hold hands and watch Netflix while you have a money date? How often do you and your wife discuss money? And is it is it something that you do regularly? Is it scheduled? Um, what do
yeah,
you
good
say?
question. I think with for us, we had this money conversation very early on. Um,
Mm,
and we quickly realized that we're very much alike in terms of what our goals are and what we want to
yes,
accomplish. Here's a great question for partners to engage in. Um, Ask your partner, sort of kind of spontaneously, um, if we were to suddenly come into $10,000, what would we, what should we do with that? And just see how he or she responds to that
that's a
question.
good date question.
It is because it tells you kind of what someone's priority is. And so, when I asked that question spontaneously, we're driving somewhere. And I was intentional to ask it, in a spontaneous way, so you don't have a whole lot of time to think about it. And the response was, I don't know, I guess I'd probably just save it. And I said to myself, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Um, because we're two individuals who know how to live within our means. Before we went live, you were telling me about the trip that you're planning, and I was telling you about the trip that I'm planning. Well, as part of planning for that trip, there's also been some savings happening, right? And so it doesn't have to be a spontaneous, well, if I get money, I'm just doing this because I've been waiting to do it. No, it's something I want. We're going to plan it out and, and be methodical about how we achieve that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. The communication though is, I know you talked about having trust with your partner, um, but how, I know that a lot of people, in fact, I know that all the statistics say that in a marriage, money is the number one conflict. I think you were lucky because you actually um, partner with somebody who you were very similar with. But like when I got married, I think he was from upper class and he had very different visions and goals than I had, and it was just contentious all the time. So I know that it's not going to be a one and done. I know that this is going to be a continuous conversation. But do you have any communication skills that you can share with our audience on when it's not pretty? No, it's you're not duking it out, but everybody's
Yeah.
got a little chip on their shoulder.
Yeah. Um, so one, I don't think I was lucky. I think I was intentional.
Oh, it's intentional.
So going back to, well, when should you have this money conversation? When I started to see that this could be something serious, that's when it was important to kind of have this money conversation. And I will also tell you that I evolved as well as a person. If I can share a quick story,
Sure. We
and
love your stories.
so we were dating, and we were going to Las Vegas, and so I rented a car. So when we got to Las Vegas, we can drive to and fro and here and around. And I am, frugal, didn't want to spend a lot of money, but I also wanted to impress her, right? Because we're dating, right? And so I got a car that was, it was an economy or compact or something. And so when I got the car, I kind of felt like, this is not you know. And so I sat in the car and I just started all my excuses. I thought I was going to get a bigger car, a better car, and I'm, sorry. And I know that I'm going on and on, Veronica. And she said, I don't care about this car. We don't,
Oh,
you don't own this car. Like, why would someone pay a lot of money just to rent a car? That doesn't make sense to me. And then she start going on and on about like why are people trying to impress other people when you can just be yourself? And I was like, yes, Like, that's what I wanted to say, but I'm still dating, so I have to pretend, I had to do some more impressing. And so obviously there are much bigger stories, but that's one little small nugget that reminded me like, yeah, it's not about impressing people. And so even as we kind of move through, through life, she and I are not focused on, and neither are our kids focused on how do I impress, how do I make sure people know that, I'm financially well. That's not our primary motivation. But to get to your question about, handling money conflict, it's communication. And I go back to, understanding if your partner is quantitative, um, right, speak to them in a quantitative manner. Let them understand the benefits of investing money. Here's what the interest rate would be. Let them know the benefits of delaying that payment. Here's what the interest savings will be. But if your partner is more qualitative, again, you chose that person, right? So talk to them in a way that where you can say, help me understand the importance of making this purchase right now.
Yes.
And tell me, describe the freedom, the experience of feeling debt free. Like what is
Yeah.
that going to feel like to you? And then let that lead into a conversation of, so, here's why we can, if we pay this debt off earlier, here's what that's going to allow us to do. Or if we delay this purchase, here's what that's going to allow us to do. Or what you may find, Veronica, because a relationship, money is tough in and of itself.
I mean,
A
it's
relationship,
emotional, it's self-esteem, it's
yeah,
power, it's energy, it's what happened to my mother, what happened to my father, and it's
yes,
all this crazy remix inside of me.
yes. Um, you know, and so you may find that when your partner says, here's why taking this vacation means so much to me, that you say, you know what, that's worth the $150 I'm going to pay in interest to the credit card company to pay it off in 3 months instead of one. Honey, we're going on that trip, right?
Oh,
Because a relationship is about, you know, give and take. And so, being able to have those communications. Um, Here's the other thing I would say about communication. Uh, Keep your mama and them out of your financial conversations. I'll interpret that because I said that in Ebonics. I apologize. Uh,
we know what you're
don't
talking about.
don't involve your in-laws in the money conversation, um, because it doesn't take much for us to move back into this money shame, um,
Mm,
this fear of having that conversation. And when someone feels like, I need a parent to dive, fly in and save us, your parents to dive in and save us, that can become demoralizing, right? And
mm.
it manifests itself in other ways. And then we're getting away from the love, the reason why we're in relation. I would say not only the reason why we're in relationships, but Veronica, the reason why we're here on earth, right, is to
Yes, to
share
love one
love
another.
one to another. And so to be able to eliminate those things that we know cause us stress, that cause us anxiety, to eliminate them or minimize them as best we can up front is critical.
Yeah, I love that you said talk about your joint values because the values go up and it's an umbrella underneath the behaviors because you may not like the behaviors, but if you can join together mutual values and what you want to see and how you want to manifest um, life and love and relationship on this planet, then it can supersede all the other stuff because all
Yes.
the other stuff seems to be really messy.
Yes.
Um, but but if we value and love each other, and one of our values is that we can live a rich life, then I can say, oh, I did overspend at Target. But then when I thought about our values, you know, I'm not going to do that again. Or next time I go to Target, I'm just going to have cash.
Right.
So
There you
you're
go.
valuing the relationship over the mental turmoil or
Yes.
the financial trauma. Because I gave a presentation once on financial infidelity. And
Mm.
when I said the word, the entire room froze and did not thaw out. It was like I had brought a wild tiger into the room and I set it loose, and everybody was terrified. Now, financial is one thing and infidelity is one thing, but the two together are like an atomic bomb. And I think that it goes right back to what you said, Eric, not having trust or feeling like money is a sense of well-being versus a tool to get from one thing to the other. What would you say about money secrets?
Oh, don't have them. I don't.
My
Don't.
grandma said you always have a little bit of money somewhere for some, hidden somewhere where nobody knows about. But I think that might go back to when women couldn't have bank accounts and
Sure.
when women were more oppressed.
Yes.
But I
Yeah.
still think it happens.
You know, but I also think that is a byproduct of a lack of trust. Uh,
Yes.
I don't know if this person is going to abandon me or suddenly leave me or
Mm,
not
yes.
provide for me. So I want to sock away a little bit for myself. Here's another reason why I like the idea of having, at least three bank accounts in the household. There's the joint bank account, there's my bank account, and then there's my partner's bank account. And that's because, whatever my partner wants to do with that money, save it, spend it, that is your money.
That is your money.
And there doesn't have to be a report back every month. Okay, so what's your balance? What you spend it on? That's your money, and let him be him. Let her be her. And so that's how I feel about money secrets. You really don't want to have them. But if you're not having these open and honest conversations up front, I think it's going to be challenging. But I think that's where people like you and I can be helpful, because you and I have a skill set where we can sit down with the couple and ask the objective questions in a way, we know who we are, in a way that is not,
Loving.
yes, that's loving, where we can get the information out. You have these tools, I have these tools and resources where objectively we're writing down what's your net worth, what assets do you own, what liabilities do you owe. Okay, that's your net worth. Looking at your monthly budget, where's your income coming from? What are you spending money on? Because despite what we say our values are, you look at someone's budget, that's going to clearly articulate
Absolutely.
what it is that he or she values. And so if we have those objective papers in front of us, and we can look at them, and then we can help uh, facilitate a conversation between a couple. I think a lot about marriage counseling and all the things that get talked about, but how much are they talking about? I know in our marriage counseling we didn't do this, but talking about money, like bring in your budget, and she brings in her budget, and let's have that conversation. I might have just created a business opportunity for us.
Well, I love this conversation because at the end of the day, it's about being vulnerable, talking from your truth, and trust, knowing that your partner is somebody you chose for a bigger reason, and that when two people love each other and they have a relationship, they can grow through that relationship and magnify their wealth, magnify their relationship, and have fun. Right?
Yes.
Can money be
Yes.
fun? I love money. It's so fun.
Yes, you said it very well. I think I'll say, can I say one more thing about communication,
Absolutely.
in this money conflict? It is okay to not reach a conclusion at the end of that conversation. It's okay to say, all right, well, let's continue this conversation tomorrow. Hopefully we don't find ourselves in positions where we have to make uh, urgent and sudden financial decisions. And so we have time, we have the week, we have the month to make that decision. And so we can put out information. And when we do have a conflict, we disagree, we can say, okay, well, let's talk about it tomorrow. Let's talk about it over the weekend, and just pick the conversation back up with a little bit more, again, with grace and with hopefully a little bit more information
And some chocolate.
and some chocolate.
After we finish this conversation, we're going to have some Seeds candy. And because then you have something to look forward to at the end of the conversation.
Yes.
Because when it gets hard, because it is one continuous long-term relationship, one continuous long-term conversation.
Yes.
And I think the more that you do it, and also you can grow from your level of discomfort to comfort, because passion doesn't pay the bills, but communication and inspiration and cooperation does.
Yes, it does. Yes. I, I feel Ebonics coming up into me again.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Romance without finance is a nuisance. So
That's corny, but there's never a webinar without one of us being corny. And there you got it, buddy. So I just wanted to finish off by saying that if you do have a conversation, Ramit said, he says that you should have care. And care means you start the conversation with a compliment. You're accountable. This is a rich life moment for you. And you always end the conversation by saying, I love you. So then, you get the connection back again. And I think this was a great conversation. What do you think, Eric?
I, I think it is a great conversation. I think it's the start, right? I think there's so many other angles to peel back. But when you think about, building that trust, and in some cases, honestly, rebuilding that trust in that partner, um, you know, for most of us, we've made the choice to be with that person, right? And so let's live in that decision, and let's find a way to do it in a to have these conversations, to engage with money, which is just a tool, right? It's just a tool. Engage with money from a place of love and respect and grace.
Yes. And always have chocolate and wine somewhere in there so that you always have something to look forward to. I keep talking about chocolate, but yeah. Well, this was an amazing conversation. I always love having you on. And I know we're going to have some questions. And what we'll do is we will have the questions sent to webinars@patelco.org. And also we will be able to share some more information. He has an amazing book, by the way. So thank you so much for coming. It has been an absolute delight. And it's going to be shown right before Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day to you and your beloved.
Thank you, and happy Valentine's Day to you as well.
Yeah, I wore my hearts today. I got my hearts on my shoulder. All right, then. Well, thank you, Eric, and we will talk again very soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Welcome back. I really hope you enjoyed the conversation. I did want to say that it's really important for you to come into a relationship with your own bucket full, that you understand who you are, that you have a genuine affection and love for yourself, that you have a sense of humor. And when you get an opportunity to share with a person, that you always come from a place of grace, a place of love. Because I really do believe that the beginning of every relationship as having a full-on relationship with yourself. Nikki Giovanni says, look in the mirror every day. Tell yourself that you love yourself, because sometimes that's the only time you're going to hear it. So is there any questions? Andrew is here. Andrew, you want to pop on? Oh, thank you, Tiana.
Hello.
He was here all the time.
All along, I was hiding here in the shadows.
Are there any questions?
Just a lot of people have really good things to say about the chat. I think a lot of people felt seen by what you guys were saying. There were some people in the chat who were kind of sharing their own experiences. One person just kind of asking here in the last second, if you, Veronica, in your own words, could kind of just like generally summarize what the main key takeaways from this webinar are. Like if the people who are here want to take away one little nugget of wisdom from Veronica and Erick, what would that be?
I think the most important thing to do is, I read the other day that your perfect life is on the other side of massive discomfort. When you open up and you actually share and be vulnerable, you actually have a better life, a better relationship, and things are richer. So you have to be a little vulnerable. You have to understand that this is that you're in a safe place. You have to love yourself, and then you have to make sure that the love is the umbrella and all the behaviors are underneath it with skills. And there was a question. The question was, is if one spouse has a personal loan, should both spouses take that on? Yes, John, love yourself. And for that, I think that it just depends upon the circumstance, but I think that two people working on anything is better than one person working on it alone. You have to really learn how to be a great partner. And it is like a continuous long-term relationship. And as you understand focusing on love, focusing on your own self-esteem, and being able to use money as a tool instead of a tranquilizer or instead of a pacifier. Money is just so close to our hearts because it's one thing that's concrete. So it just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of grace, and also the magical four-letter words, L-O-V-E, love.
And chocolate, make sure you have chocolate.
Yes. So I wanted to thank everybody. Oh, and proceed. That's right, Kitty. That's absolutely right. I wanted to give your time back, but I wanted to thank you all for coming and taking care of your personal relationships around money. We have here at Patelco, we have counselors that can support you if you want to get your budget done, if you want support with your credit, and if you want to just build your financial capacity so that you can have the best one and only life that you have. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you so much. So we're going to go now, and I'm going to give your time back. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and know that here at Patelco, happy Valentine's Day, and we love you. Don't we, Hannah?
Love them. Love all 103 of you that are here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Want more financial advice? Make sure you watch the next video here and hit that subscribe button here.